This is the draft of the introduction section of Team 1's Unit 8 consulting scenario for the summer semester of LSAL 5283, Building High-Performance Teams. This scenario is based around a consulting interaction between Team 1 consultants and a company called Transcorp, both of which are fictitious entities which have been created for the purposes of this presentation. The following presentation has been prepared by Team 1 consultants for review by the Executive Board of the Transcorp organization. This presentation introduces the core concepts that Team 1 will cover during our upcoming on-site meeting with Transcorp executives. We recommend that the board members familiarize themselves with this presentation prior to our face-to-face working session. Having a working knowledge of this content will provide the Executive Board with a framework from which to describe the unique team-related considerations within their organization. These descriptions will in turn provide Team 1's representatives with key information that will help them support the Executive Board's efforts to build high-performance teams. As Peter Drucker teaches us, the role of consultants is not to dictate actions to their clients, but rather to help the client achieve their highest potential. Our consulting philosophy mirrors one of our most fundamental lessons about enabling teamwork. We help our clients achieve their highest potential not because we solve their problems, but because we help them create the conditions in which they can solve their own. Over the past 30 years, rapid technological growth combined with the forces of globalization have drastically changed the nature of work and the role of leaders in the workplace. It is no longer practical nor advisable for one leader to dictate actions given the immense complexity of today's workplace. As a result, modern leaders must move away from traditional command and control mindsets and learn to empower the collaborative potential of their organizations. We address this new paradigm by reviewing three important facets of teams and their leadership. First, what defines a real team, and what do we commonly get wrong in our assumptions about teamwork? Second, what are the common barriers that teams face, and do these barriers change depending on the team's working conditions? Finally, what are some of the key strategies that organizations can use to develop high-performance teams in any situation? One issue of particular concern, especially for organizations such as Transcorp, is how teamwork and team leadership differ when teams collaborate in virtual settings as opposed to working in traditional face-to-face settings. Virtual teams do present their own advantages and challenges, but they have more in common with traditional teams than one might assume. Research has shown that virtual teams are just as capable of building interpersonal trust, and the underlying behavioral factors that influence face-to-face interactions are not only present, but just as relevant in virtual settings. We assert that virtual and face-to-face teams have more similarities than differences. A helpful way to conceptualize this is through Hughes, Ginnett, and Serpy's interactional framework model. This model asserts that three factors, the leader, the follower, and the situation, all influence workplace interactions. Rather than seeing the leaders and followers of virtual and face-to-face teams as distinct groups with different kinds of leaders and different kinds of followers, we consider them to be essentially the same. What sets these two types of teams apart are drastic differences in their respective situations. It is important to take into account how situational differences highlight some concerns while obscuring others. For example, face-to-face teams and their leaders must balance their productive time and their value-adding informal communication time. By contrast, virtual teams need to construct opportunities for informal communication and ensure that knowledge is consistently shared across their group. You will find the following sections discuss the challenges that teams face and the strategies for encouraging teamwork from the perspective that virtual and face-to-face teams are essentially the same. We cover these topics in general terms and then discuss how changes in a team situation necessitate different focuses for leaders and their teams. However, before we get to this discussion, we must first consider what the term team really means.